Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk About Ice show. This is a weekly show we do on Facebook that predominantly deals with ice addiction. Here you have the opportunity to listen to guest speakers such as Adrian to share their lived experience in the hope to help others. The various guest speakers come from all walks of life, and it just shows that ice addiction doesn't discriminate and can affect all people. Our target audience are people in active addiction or recovery, as well as family members that are looking for support and advice for a loved one who is affected by ice addiction. Throughout the show, we will feature numbers and websites for those seeking further assistance, as well as answering any questions you may have that can be sent via the show's commentary. We want people to know that there is help out there and that there is life after ice addiction. What I'll do now is I'll hand it over to Jose, and he's going to do a couple of shout-outs.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk About Ice, coming you live from Coffs Harbour and the Clarence Valley. And before I we introduce tonight's guest, I just want to give you a few shout-outs. First to Mark and Faulkner Removalists for donating furniture to AAIC head office, and also everyone who supported Retro Car show for our Ipswich team fundraiser. We were able to raise $5,000 thanks to Tivil Drive-In for supporting our cause. Another announcement, AAIC Op Shop is moving to 130 Scarborough Street, Southport on the 1st of June, 9:30 a.m. We will be having morning tea as well as opening sale. I'll give you back to Ben.
Thanks, Jose. This evening we've got our guest speaker who is Adrian. Welcome, Adrian.
Thank you, Ben.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're at in life at the moment.
Hi, I'm Adrian. I'm 45. I currently live up in the Grafton, Clarence Valley area with my mother and brother and nephew. I moved up this way from down south Bathurst probably about 3 years ago.
I've got family in Bathurst. I'm actually from Forbes.
Yeah.
So shout out to everyone from Forbes.
Mm-hmm.
So where'd you grow up?
I was born Condobolin, but I grew up in Bathurst from the age of 8 years of age, and went to school in Bathurst, and then I ventured off into the big city at the age of 17 to do my hairdressing apprenticeship.
Okay, and so before we get to all that, what was your childhood like, no?
I've always been the same. I've always been very out there, Adrian. Really good, except for at the age of 8, my father became paraplegic, which added a really big different dimension on the family, and saw that my father had changed mentally due to his accident. So it was big changes.
So it would have been a bit of a strain on the family.
It really was, yeah. My father went from being such a very understanding and patient guy to very completely the opposite. So it took its toll on the whole family and himself.
It would have been around the same time you were starting to go into high school. What were your high school years like?
My high school years, I had a very good growing up with my friends at school. My friends all accepted me for me. I'm an out gay man and always have been gay, and they've always supported me. Through my childhood at school, it wasn't really talked about a lot, so could never really come and talk about when there was a few rough patches going through.
Just before anything else, I just want to, Jay and Lando, yes, this is being streamed live from Coffs Harbour. It is the Coffs Harbour Clarence Valley SEAT for the Australian Anti-Ice Campaign. And our guest tonight is Adrian, and he is tonight sharing his story, lived experience comes to ice addiction. So why don't you just tell us from the beginning?
Okay. I started off I felt very different from everybody else at school, and so whatever the cool kids were doing, I wanted to do so that I'd be accepted. It was the way that I fitted in. And I discovered alcohol and butane at a very young age. And then as I grew up and I moved to Sydney and I got my apprenticeship in hairdressing, I went through a stage when I was 17 very anti-drugs because I saw friends of mine doing drugs and I didn't want my friends to die, so I used to find it really quite upsetting. And then I was in a relationship and Adrian, being Adrian, I was curious why my boyfriend at the time was, injecting speed, so I had to try it. And from the moment that I first injected speed, I felt so much more, muchier. Like I felt no one can now hurt me. I'm invincible. I'm 10 foot tall, because I was a very shy, petite, feminine boy. So it made me feel much more manly and much more of a person. And then that was like in the early 1990s, 94. And then
So how old were you?
I was 18 when I first injected speed. I just turned 18. And then I went from injecting speed onto heroin and was on heroin for quite some number of years until there was a bit of a shortage of heroin there for a long time. And then I was introduced to ice. The ice came in then.
So would that have been around your mid-20s, late
Yeah,
20s?
about my mid-20s. I moved back from Cairns when I was probably about 26. And that's when I discovered ice.
So who introduced ice to you?
Just the people that I was keeping company with, because I was in that drug world. So I saw it going from speed, amphetamine to ice.
So you've seen the transition.
The transition of it all, I saw it, from being on the gay dance scene and that in the cities, all of a sudden, there was this glass pipe being passed around, you know what I mean? So it was all a very big culture shock, to be honest,
It was a novelty.
Yes.
And so how long did you use the ice for?
I use it then now right up until 12 months, right up until my 40s.
Yep.
Yeah. No longer could get speed. It all became ice. Became a lot more potent, a lot more stronger. All that.
Let's talk about Ice Show is primarily the reason we have this show is of course to share a story, but there are people who are listening, audience watching this stream tonight, who needs to be educated as to the effect of this. So I needed you to go back to that time and share your life. What was your life, and where did it take you?
Oh, look, it took me to a lot of lonely places, all of a sudden it became so everywhere you went, you know what I mean? Because when it was speed, it was kind of like all hidden away, of that and that. So then when ice came about, it was a lot more sociable. There was a lot more people sitting around doing it, and it took me into a place for the ice for me because of the different type of methamphetamine that it was. It would completely numb me. You know what I mean? I never wanted to feel. I didn't want to feel, and it took me into that instant where I could just have total escapism, and I could have all this courage and all this false sense of, that I could do everything, And being, a single gay guy in the gay scene, to meet up with people, it became quite a very big thing. You know what I mean? The meeting up with people and the drugs and the sex. So it became very it became so you couldn't escape it. Do you know what I mean? And then it took me to places that I never want to go back to again. It didn't matter where I went, or what, if I tried to try different towns, do all the geographicals and different, relationships and that, because it would destroy every relationship I had, because I had no control over it. I'd be sneaking out to do it or doing it behind my partner's back because I became quite addicted to it. So it didn't matter where I went, that I would always seem to find it, and go to all lengths to get it as well. It didn't matter whether I was in an international country where it was, death penalty to do. If I wanted it, I got it, and I found it.
So let's talk about that. You've been overseas before.
Yes.
And you mentioned that you've used overseas.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in some of them countries, the penalties are quite extreme,
Yes.
and yet you still felt the need to search out this drug
Yes.
and use it.
Yes.
And I guess that just says the power of the addiction
For sure.
of this drug. Tell us a little bit about that, your experience.
Oh, look, it's the addiction to it was so strongly, like I just we just talked about. It didn't matter if I was overseas where it was death penalty. If I wanted it, because I used it for so many different reasons. I used it to party. I used it to feel happier when I was feeling sad. Like I used it for all many different reasons, so it was a big part of my life. Like I used it for everything. So it didn't matter that if I was overseas in a death penalty country, I still, if I wanted it, I sniffed it out and I did it.
So that's quite interesting. And some of these countries that you were in, now there's an ice epidemic here at the moment, but
yes.
is it just as bad overseas?
Oh, everywhere, yeah, exactly.
Even though they do have those penalties?
Yeah. It's like I noticed for the first time that I'd gone to these countries and I didn't use it, to use the drug there, to going back and seeing it. Yes, it's all there.
It's the insanity of it. Like it comes at a point where you don't care about the consequences. And I mentioned earlier, I was overseas in the Philippines and did a HNI. We visited in prison, and where people have their hot bunk and and have a roster of how many hours you sleep, and then you swap, right? And I was talking to one of the kids that was there. He was 19 years old, and he was doing life for 5 grams of ice, right? That's the insanity of it. Yeah, we're willing to put ourselves in, and I'm lucky in my using, I never went there because I know I would have been doing life there too because I don't care about the consequences. So how bad was it? Because, otherwise we wouldn't be here talking about. So how bad did it get for you?
It got that bad that I was completely like I explain it as I had a very spiritual rock bottom. I became that numb and that low that I couldn't even feel myself feeling anymore, and that I felt like I was becoming a fadance of existence, and that everything that I revolved my whole life, it all revolved around the getting and using of ice. And I was so lonely, like I was so lonely for myself, and it didn't matter where I went, if I tried to be in different areas or tried to be around different people, like that strong of that addiction to use that drug was that strong that I would eventually get it. I've recently, in the last over 12 months, been doing a 12-step program, and I've connected with other recovering addicts, and it has been my biggest support. It's been my biggest saviour in my addiction, because I no longer feel like I'm alone, and that's the whole thing about this drug and where it takes you. It strips you of everything. It stripped me of, made me feel like I had nothing and no one, and then it was going to leave me dead in the gutter. But now there's hope.
So, and you spoke about these feelings you had that you would search out the drug so you could mask certain feelings. The feelings that you have today, how do you deal with them? You mentioned that with the STEPS program, there's a power in sharing and there's a power in listening to other people's stories.
Yeah.
Is that one way that you sort of...
Yes, and being connected. Look, it's not easy. This is where the core of my addiction starts with, is that, it's not easy sitting with feelings, and it's not easy, living on life's terms, like without going, I'll just have a shot of ice and worry about that tomorrow, you know what I mean? Like, so it's not easy sitting in feelings. The main thing that I've come to realise has been a big thing for me is to use my mouth to talk to people, to share with other recovering addicts about how I'm feeling. So that takes me out of being so isolated and feeling like all I had was the drug, where now I have that power in sharing and listening, you know.
Belonging to a community.
For sure,
It's key.
absolutely.
Lando is watching us tonight, and he is from the Clarence area, right? And he said, I think the escapism is the biggest draw into it for a lot of people, washing away all their pain and struggle. And that's certainly one case, you know. It was about grief and overcoming grief, and ice was presented, you know. But then after that, the rest was really my choice to just keep on using for 13 years.
Exactly right. So we've talked about emotions that you experience. What was your lowest point that you can recognise? You said you had a spiritually low point. Where did it? I guess that some people's decision to stop using may have been different than their lowest point. So let's just talk about your lowest point or where it has taken you.
Right, so it was a bit over 12 months ago, and I had been on a bit of a, few-day bender on it, and I was just so lonely and so lost, and I didn't know who I could talk to. I didn't know if I could trust anyone about what I was going through without that fear of being judged was there. And I remember sitting downstairs of my house where I lived, and there was a knife. And I remember looking at the knife and feeling, I can see why people take their life when they've had enough. Like, I felt that low. Like, I felt so lost that I was that low. And all I could think of what I needed to do was get to the ocean. And I went to the water in Iluka, and I've stood there, and this pot of dolphins were swimming. And then this one dolphin coming at me 100 miles an hour comes swimming straight at me 3 metres before the shore, jumped out of the water and at my feet and went around, and it picked my spirit up. My spirit just went, and I was like, there you go, that's the higher power. That's something powerful, more powerful than my addiction, you know what I mean? Like, because I was really low, like I was so low. I was actually so low that I was so scared.
I want to just talk about that situation because I want other people to understand what was it that made you have these thoughts of the suicide? Was it the helplessness of it all?
Yeah, it was the complete, I lost everything. Yeah. Like I lost being in connection, in contact with people that, love me and that I loved and were very good for me in my life. I separated myself away from that. I was feeling even more drawn away from my mum, who my parents have always been my biggest support. My family's always supported me throughout my 26 years of addiction. It got me to this point where it got me all alone, and I literally was physically and mentally and spiritually.
What was your family relationship like growing up before you touched ice?
Look, my dad, bless him in heaven, was a very hard man. And I can see through his frustrations of life, becoming paraplegic and things like that. They were always very supportive of me and my sexuality. And then when it came to their attention when I was 18 that I was abusing drugs intravenously, they did everything they can do to help me and got me into rehab and things like that. So I'm very blessed that I've always had them. Because a lot of people don't have that support.
Yeah.
So I was very blessed I did, and they supported me in the rehabs. And there was a lot of touch and go places, and then I was in a rehab about 4 years ago, and my father passed away, and I didn't know how else to cope with life but to go and get high, because that's what I did when I felt low. I got high, and that relapse lasted me 4 years, and in that 4 years, I did the whole 3. I did jails, I did institutions, and I died. I never thought that from ice that I could never OD. I thought I knew you could only die from a heroin overdose, but I had an overdose on ice.
Do you want to explain to our audience exactly what happened?
What had happened was I had purchased a really bad batch of ice sold to me off the street.
Yep.
And it was laced or cut with something that was really, really dangerous, and it sent me into a real bad panic. and I was in that much of a panic that my kidneys were working over fast, and then my kidneys started to shut down.
Wow.
And all I remember was I was running through on the F7, Freeway 7 in Sydney at the airport in the tunnels. And then all I remember is I walked I found a doctor's surgery, and I walked in and I just said to them, I don't feel very well, and I collapsed. And then I woke up 5 days later in a induced coma because my kidneys were failing.
Wow.
So it was very frightening.
Was it another drug mixed in it, or was
No.
it a dirty?
It was dirty ice, yeah.
I just want to say something about the concept of dirty ice. And when it comes to the drug ice, and when someone sells it to you and they'll say 90% pure or whatever the purity level is, I just want you to understand it doesn't matter what the purity level is. What it means, if they say 90%, it means 90% chemical, 90% synthetic. When they say 100% pure, that means 100% chemical and 100% toxic.
So yeah, it was quite frightening because I woke up and I didn't obviously know where I was. All I remember, when I was unconscious, I remember I was in an ambulance and I could see all these souls up above on the roof, and I could see this light.
Yes.
And then it was 4 days later I woke up and I had tubes everywhere, and yeah, it was quite frightening because I never thought that I could overdose from it, And the really sick part then of my addiction to this drug is that I left that hospital and I went and scored more.
Wow, that's the insanity of it.
The insanity of it.
So when they speak about rock bottom of jails, institutions, and death, you've experienced it.
Yeah,
The
very much.
Very much. You know very much what that is about. Sorry.
The way your mind thinks is, to get through this day, I'll just have one more shot, and then I'll deal with my. That's how you think, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll just have this one last shot, and then tomorrow, I'll be able to put everything in order and stuff like that. But it's like for me and my recovery from this drug addiction, it's all these little steps that I've taken forward that is getting me to the bigger picture of recovery, because recovery for me hasn't happened overnight.
And it's I'm just going through the 18-month cycle of and apparently it takes that long for your mind to come back to you.
Yeah.
So I know exactly. The first 6 months was quite difficult. I had the depression and that sort of thing, and you have the thoughts. So each person will go through their own walk, but it's difficult, and I can imagine that you experience the same thing.
Yeah. It has been a very difficult, it's been a very challenging journey. For me, I had all this fear that I was going to be judged, that people were going to say, see, I told you, once a junkie, always a junkie, you know what I mean? It's that whole fear. But the moment that I got some identification with another addict that was recovering and that I could relate to somebody else, then it just made it a lot more easier for me, to live my life clean, like a day at a time, on the mental side of it, it's going to take a bit of time for it all to come back. And I run on fear. Like my addiction to ice is like all fear-based. So I've just been trying to replace it with a bit of faith.
Yes. I just want to, there is a message here from Brittany Taylor, and she says, wow, that's insane. I never knew you could overdose on ice. And Brittany, I just want to assure you, yes, you can overdose on ice. And and there are a lot of news stories that you can dig up, and you can look at the work of George Petrikis up at the Udemy Academy. I have personally lost a couple of friends, and the last photos of them being alive were naked, handcuffed to the bed of a hospital psych ward, and both suffered heart attack resulting from ice. Sorry.
So on that point, let's talk about that. Did you ever experience the psychosis?
Yes, many times. For me, it didn't matter whether or not, like, I'd have periods where I didn't touch it for a month, or, you know, I'd be trying to get clean, and every time I'd have that pick up and use it, it would take me back to there. Then that psychosis would interfere with my relationships, you know, with my friendships. I'm very blessed that I've had some really good supporting friends over the years. One particular girlfriend of mine, we've been friends since I was 8. You know, it didn't matter what type of psychosis state I was in, I could go, paranoid state, I could go to her, and you know, she would always, you know, was very accepting. So I was very lucky there. But yeah, like, continue, and it doesn't matter whether or not I had time off it or not, you know, like, it does damage to your brain. It did damage to my brain.
Well, definitely. I mean, if you try and go without sleep or food for at least 1 or 2 days,
For sure.
you can't do it.
Yeah.
And you know, here we are using this drug. You know, some instances up for a week. You
Yeah.
know, and so it starts affecting the mind. You know, and it's a horrible feeling because I've experienced it a couple of times, and it's quite traumatising.
Yeah,
really.
it
So,
is.
and I'm just lucky that I didn't get myself in too much trouble. Speaking about trouble, did you ever find yourself on the other side of the law because of ice addiction?
Yes. I have been to jail. That was not an ice-related incident, but it was certainly the lifestyle that I was keeping that got me there for that. But I'd been obviously arrested with possession of ice on me and stuff like that. It kind of, yeah, like, as my time of my using went on, you know, it got, like, I got more and more trouble. So, yeah.
It's probably better. I imagine you got in trouble for that in Australia, not when you were
Yeah,
overseas.
well, that's right. I was coming back through customs in Sydney Airport, and they put the scanner over your suitcase. Well, it detected it, like, you know, and he said, "You're lucky that we picked up this end and not at that end," you know. But you know, when I'm in the depths of my addiction, I didn't care about any of that. Do you know what I mean? Like, all I cared about was getting that shot of ice. You know what I mean? Having that drug. Like, I didn't think about all that.
Tell us some of the things you lost because of this drug. In regards to relationships, maybe work, things of value.
I lost a very loving relationship with a guy who was. I got with this gentleman after I'd been in my first relationship, which was drug-based, for 8 years, and then I met this other gentleman, and he showed me a different way of life to live, and showed me that you know, like, just a better way to live. And I wasn't able to stop the party, you know what I mean? Like, the party within me just continued, and and as a result of that, I lost that relationship, and it took me a long time to grieve for that one. And blessed, I'm still friends with this gentleman today, who I care about. And then obviously another relationship of mine, you know, it takes and jobs, you know, like opportunities, you know what I mean? Because for me, you know, say payday was on a Tuesday, and the main thing I would do would get on. You know what I mean? Knowing if I had to go to work or not the next day and stuff like that. Knowing that if I don't go to work, I'm going to lose my job, or if I use, I'm going to lose my relationship. That wasn't enough to stop me.
So even though you obviously love these people, that
Very much, yeah.
and it still wasn't enough.
No, it wasn't enough. I had to find that really. I had to hit that really low, and it's a really hard low to explain, but it's a real internal one. You know, it's not so much the physical side of the loss and all that. It's more internal. That's made me go. You know, like, I'm a lover. I'm a happy-go person. I love life. I love my family. I love my friends. If I continue using this drug, I won't have anything.
And I guess it would have been hard for the people that do know you and the loved ones in the family who know that you're a happy-go-lucky sort of guy.
Yes.
But this is what's happening to him.
Yes, Ben, very much. You know, like, I'd have a lot of my friends that would be like, they would see me then when I'd be on the ice, and they'd be like, "Where are you? Where's where's that happy vibe and Adrian gone? You know, because it just made me that numb that it numbed my whole spirituality, you know. So it was quite hard on them. And that's why now today, you know, they see me and they can see that I am doing a lot better than what I was. And for me, that makes me happy that, you know, that they are happy for me.
Yes.
You know, because this disease, this drug, it wants to strip everything. It wants to strip all my friends. It wants to strip all my relationships. It wants to strip all the good from me. You know, it doesn't want me to have anything good and loving in my life.
So you mentioned earlier that you know at one point your dad passed away, and that caused you a relapse of another 4 years in your addiction. And you told me that you know your family helped you through different rehabs, you know, and it reminded me of the movie that I've seen recently about meth. It was called A Beautiful Child,
Right.
and it's reflecting that story. You know how people that love us will go through, but at some point they realize, well, you know, there's the frustration. There's nothing to do, and then your dad passed away. That must have caused a lot more battle inside.
Yeah.
That caused you to go back there for another 4
For
years.
sure. Well, it was because just before my father passed away, like probably about 10 months before, he had his first major stroke. So it was then that I went to myself, you know what, like, it's very, your father, my dad's not going to be around very long, you know, I really want him to be proud of me. I'm going to go to rehab and I'm going to get myself clean. You know, I'm going to do this for my dad, you know, so he doesn't, you know, so he, you know, can pass away when he does die knowing that I'm clean and be happy. So then the moment that he passed away, which was a lot sooner than what we all thought, I didn't know how to deal with that, you know what I mean? So, and that was the first thing I turned to.
Wow. I really feel that, you know, that sometimes that guilt and shame and now it's too late type thing, but it's never too late. And
No,
so,
I feel he's shining down on me from heaven,
Yeah.
you know, and he told me, his last words to me, he said that he would always be my guardian angel.
yes.
And I do believe that
wow.
and do feel that.
Yes.
So, you know, I make amends in that to him and to his spirit by living clean today.
So you talk about the party of, you know, the party and all the trimmings that go with it. So what got you to recovery?
Well, for me, that party never stopped.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, like when the party, you know, and the party for me started way before the party started, you know, like, and then it ended up in the end being a one-man party, you know, like I was on my own, you know, and literally partying on my own. And then the drugs just weren't working for me, you know what I mean? Like it just isolated me away. Like I didn't want to be around people. I didn't want to be around the good people that I had in my life. Yeah, so, and that's what brought me into recovery was that, you know, and I had this, and it was like I knew, it was, so Corona came in last year and that, so which was even more isolation, right? So you couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't even go and sit at your dealer's house, and, you know, it was all, and then I had this night on it, and I can't explain it, but I had this feeling, it was like an internal voice that just said to me, and, you know, if I don't do something now, I'm going to end up dead. And I won't last another 6 months. You know what I mean? It's really hard to explain. So it was then, you know, that I said to my mother, I said, you know, do you remember that lady I met on the bus, you know, last year that, you know, went to one of the 12-step programs that, you know, do you know what I did with her phone number? And no, and then it was the next morning down the street, this lady pulled up.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, you ask, you shall receive. You know what I mean? Like, there you go. You know, you're just saying it last night. God, I believe my higher power put her there.
Yeah.
For me to reach out.
Wow.
So, and that was your opportunity.
Recovery.
That was your opportunity to get
For sure.
yourself into
Yeah.
And what could you say to our viewers at the moment that do have that opportunity to get that are dealing with a nice addiction? What should they do? Should they get themselves into that rehab as soon as possible?
The main thing is to understand that you're not alone. you're not alone, and you don't have to go through this alone. We are a power. The more of us, the power of one together. And the big and first step to do is to actually reach out for help, and to start surrounding yourself around people that are in recovery and the people that want to see you get well. Because once that journey starts and you have those people around you, it's an amazing journey. I never thought, I tried to get clean many times.
Yep.
I've been trying to get clean since I was 18.
Yep.
I'm now 45 this year. And
Wow.
so it's taken me a long time to get this, you know what I mean? And the main big thing for me was, being up here on the Clarence Valley, I was able to connect with other recovering addicts,
Yes.
and that really care about me,
Yes.
and that I could get that identification. So I just surrounded myself with those people and listened to what they had to say. Not every day is really easy, my recovery, but as my mentor says he says about him, and I'm the same. I say please in the morning and thank you at night.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And especially this last month, I've managed to give up the cigarettes again.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, it's
Well
kind of a bit of a challenge, but it's great because I love going to the gym and doing aerobics and that. But each morning, I wake up and I give me the strength not to pick up that drug, a cigarette or a drink, because this stuff is not easy, but by reaching out
Yes.
and asking for help, it gets easier.
And being around like-minded
Very much.
people that have
Yeah.
been in that same
For sure.
situation.
Yeah, I'm very blessed. Like the people that I've had in this last 12 months of my recovery. I mean, look, I wouldn't thought 12 months ago that I'd be sitting here talking with you guys, getting awareness out there. So this is big stuff.
We had a nice dinner coming beforehand too. I'm going to give a plug to Pig and Kai, which is on Main Street, Coffs Harbour. They do a good Filipino.
Oh yeah, that's great to know, isn't it?
Anyway, tell us about the support that you have currently.
Yeah, currently, I have really big support at the moment. Like I am a member of a 12-step program.
Yes.
And I do about 3 to 4 different meetings a week.
Yes.
I've now been incorporating church gathering here
Yes.
on a Wednesday night.
Wow.
Or I surround myself with the people that are in my fellowship, and I've made connections with other people, especially other gay. For me, it was a big thing. Like I wanted to be connected with other gay people that were in recovery.
Yes.
Because the gay scene, there is so much drugs.
Yes.
So I would crave to have that connection with another gay, like-minded person.
Yes.
But it's even better now that I've connected with other people that are in recovery, so it's safe for me.
Yes.
I on a daily basis, I reach out to people
Yes.
that are in recovery,
Yes.
and I talk about what's going on with me. Like for me, my addiction to the ice and that was all about my feelings and how I felt and how I reacted. So on a daily basis, I'm connecting with people, and like new people that are coming into recovery, I love seeing that journey as well, because this journey of recovery is quite a big thing.
Yes.
If you can help one person, on their journey, then that's one soul saved.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, on a daily basis, the people that I had anything to do with that still use drugs, I don't associate with. I pray a lot to my higher power that He will put them in the rooms. For me, I have to take care of Adrian for the first time, and then that means like just surrounding myself with people that are in recovery from this drug. Because this addiction to this drug will get me in any way. It's so sneaky. It will get to me when I'm feeling good or when I'm feeling low. Like it'll make its way in there,
And if you have relapsed in the past.
Yes, I have, yeah.
Having that sort of knowing that, it is possible to happen.
Yeah, it's like I said to you before, like for me, I've always had I had a problem with dealing with my feelings and my emotions and my reactions, and and how I allow people's actions affect me, hence why I use drugs. So, you know, with my little relapse along the way, it was a one-night relapse, and it all ventured from anger that came up, you know, about being hurt by somebody and then not being able to deal with that because I didn't know how to deal with it. The only way I used to deal with it was by getting high. So, you know, I eventually then that turned into resentment, and that resentment took me out there and I used. I was very blessed that I came straight back in. Being in recovery ruined it. It didn't make it fun for me, you know, and I knew that, you know, this bit of recovery that I've had in this last 12 months, I don't want to lose that. Like today, I can have a laugh at myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I can laugh at myself, you know, and that's an internal happiness, you know what I mean? Like all those feelings are coming back, you know, like so.
So how do you cope these days when similar situation happen? What do you do?
I pray.
Yeah, good.
Try to take a deep breath. I talk about it.
Yep.
I talk about it to my sponsor,
Yep.
or I talk about it to a friend.
Yes.
You know about.
I guess the 12-step program that you go to, that's a good outlet.
Yeah, sure is. Look, it's you know, it's one thing giving up the drugs. With the 12-step program, it teaches us how to live. Like I'm learning how to live life, you know, and that's what I've struggled with my whole life is how to live life without being high, you know. And I can't do this alone. It's that whole saying, I can't, we can, you know, and that's a really big thing, you know, because I've felt my whole life, I've felt so different and so isolated that, you know, that fear of actually asking for help. But now that I've asked for the help, and you receive that help, it's such a powerful healing process.
Because it's not just a matter of just quitting, stopping drugs, you know.
No, it's not just about stopping
that's
drugs.
they always say when they take the drugs away from me, what I'm left with are the reasons why I need to use in the first place.
For sure.
Now, Adrian's from Clarence Valley, and I'm pleased to actually announce that he's going to be the one of the regular hosts with Ben for the show. So if you're from the Clarence Valley, and I didn't realize that there was such a big problem up there too when it comes to ice. And if you're watching and you want to share your story, please reach out to us, reach out to Adrian and Ben, and we'll put you on the show. It's because it isn't a sharing of a story that gives a message of hope to those addicts who are still suffering. And not just the addicts, the suffering addicts, but their loved one as well. Liz Dutton, counsellor of AAIC, is watching tonight. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send a message. Liz is there answering, that will help you. If you know or you have a loved one who is an addict, or please drop us a note, and Liz will be quite happy to answer that. Sorry.
Yeah, let's just, what do you think, Adrian, is, you know, having had the affliction of ice addiction, what do you think with that drug is something that people who have never had that addiction don't know about it? What can you say about it that people that have never used it?
It's a drug that takes over every part of you, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, everywhere, and you just become completely powerless over it. It's so strong. You know, like the difference from ice to when it was the speed days is, you know, the ice became more sociable because you could smoke it in this glass pipe. Yep. So it then became this thing that people would sit around and pass a pipe around. So, you know, and it's just never enough. It doesn't matter how much you have, it's never enough. You're continuously chasing that high because it becomes like a fry. I explain it as it's a fry, not a high.
And it's designed that way for you.
And it's designed that way.
For you to want more.
For sure.
Yeah, and you know, it's an interesting point what you said, because I started off on the speed as well, and then when they, the cooks and the manufacturers, they realised that if we can make it into a smokable form, it's going to be more sociably acceptable, and that's when the ice really started to take off, because it's a bit hard when it's sitting around using needles, as opposed to passing the pipe around.
That's right.
It's like passing a joint around,
Yeah.
and that's why I think it went from being, you the speed days to the ice.
For sure, absolutely, Ben. Yeah.
And so what's the most important lesson you've learned, I guess, not just in ice addiction, but in life, you could say?
That yesterday's yesterday.
Yeah.
Today's a new day, and I am who I am from yesterday, and it's from yesterday that will help me move through to tomorrow. I don't have any regrets or any shame about where I've been in my addiction. I see myself now. My purpose in life is being clean and helping other addicts. And just getting, because it's that whole feeling of being alone, that is the silent killer, and that fear of being judged by reaching out, and that's all I can say, like my father used to say, God gave you a tongue for a reason, use it, you know what I mean? Like, and ask for help, it's the hard, for me, it's the hardest thing to do.
What's that, ask for the help?
Asking for help, and explain and talking about how I feel, because I'm not real good at how I feel. I'm not real good at explaining and expressing myself. But it's through by being connected with other people in recovery. It's through talking to other addicts. It's through watching shows like this. That getting that identification. Because like it works through other people. Like the awareness of it all.
There is help out there, and you don't need to suffer it alone. And if you really, at the end of the day, want to give up drugs, what are you prepared to do? And it's quite as simple as reaching out. And we're blessed because we're part of a program, a 12-step program that help us live life without drugs.
Yeah, and it's there's a power in that. In sharing, I don't know what it is. I can't really put my finger on it and how it works, but sharing that lived experience with others, it is hard at the start, I guess, and because you don't know what to say or how to ask for help. But the more you do it, the easier it comes, and eventually you get to a point where you can start helping other people.
For sure, absolutely, Ben.
And you've found that.
Yeah, look, like I said, I found it very hard to explain how I felt. So by listening to other addicts and their journey of their recovery and where they are today and where they come from, it's that power of the voice of another, and getting that identification. And that whole knowing that, don't have to fight this anymore on my own. Like I no longer have to be on my own. And
another key point I think you mentioned is letting go of the past.
Yeah.
Leave it where it is.
The past is the past. We can't change the past. We can use our past to help us better ourselves today. And our past makes us who we are today.
And it is hard sometimes, and sometimes that's easier said than done. I still find myself in my moments of before I drift off, thinking about my addiction days and some of the shame and guilt, and I cringe. So it's not. Sometimes it's not a matter of just saying okay, but you got to realise that when you're in addiction, you are a different person.
Oh,
and
completely.
The person that you are today and doing what you're doing is not that person anymore, and that helps me.
Yeah.
To move on from it.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in, 5 to 10 years' time, Adrian? I know that's a difficult question for everyone, but
That's a lot of one day at a times too, because I try to live my life, and it was explained to me from another recovering addict. It's one day at a time, because I could never, get how would I never ever do that again, But it's one day at a time. I see myself helping others. I see myself alive. That's the first thing, being alive and being healthy-minded, so I can help other people, and having a happy, it's like for me, happiness, and I heard this and I've learnt this, I can only experience true happiness after I've experienced true sadness, and I've experienced that. Through this drug and the disease of addiction, I've experienced sadness, so, I'm on my way to happiness, I see myself living clean. And I see myself helping other people. Big time.
do you think maybe your relapse the fact that it wasn't what you expected and that you came back straight away into program, do you think maybe that wasn't all a bad thing and you can say, okay,
Oh,
I've
you
done
look,
my relapse thing,
Yeah.
I don't want, I know what's going to go on
yeah,
with that.
I'm more aware, Ben, of how this drug and this disease of my addiction will weave its way in. And I'm aware of that now, and I'm aware that it's no longer just about the drug itself, it's about how I feel as a person. So I'm more aware, and when I did have that one night of relapse, I was completely wanted it to stop, and I can completely, so that whole paranoia and mental state and that fear that, that I carried for so many years, it instantly came back, and it was like, I've been relieved of this for the last 10 months because I've been living clean,
Yep.
This is not what I want, I love my life clean, I love being in recovery, one day at a time. I love having the people that I have in my life, It was like, no way am I going to let this addiction to this drug take away these people from my life.
Tell us about your relationship with your family right now. Okay. I know you were telling us about your mum earlier on at dinner.
They're good. I have a brother, and my brother, he has struggled with the drug itself, taken him to prison and whatnot, and he's been out now since before Christmas, and I got him to a 12-step meeting that night, and it's great, we're for the first time, because I've for many years longed to have that brother relationship with my brother, but we've both been so messed up on the drugs, and when we're both using drugs, or one of us are using drugs, we are so disconnected and that, so it's really great because I have this relationship with my brother that I've wanted for so long, and we go to the gym on a daily basis, and, we can enjoy each other's company, I love my family, my mum, and my nephew, my mum, is beautiful.
For them to see you doing so well,
Oh, yeah.
and then that reflection,
For sure, Ben.
you get back, that's worth its weight in
Yeah.
gold.
Look, I had this moment, this one time I was to get some chook food. I was to mention this really quickly, and I got to the chook produce store, and it was a Sunday, and it wasn't going to open till 9 o'clock, not normally 8 o'clock. And I had told my mother so many times, I'm just going to the chook store, but I'd be off to get drugs. And I got there and it wasn't open. I left my mobile phone at home. So I was completely oh no, she's going to be thinking that, that I'm off doing all this, And when I got home, I was oh, so sorry. She goes, Adrian, I no longer worry about you now that you're in recovery. And, to have that, to hear that from my mum, that she no longer has to worry about me because I'm now living clean, wow, it's a big thing.
That's great to hear,
Yeah.
mate, because you go through that guilt, the guilt and shame, when you feel dirty, you feel wrong, you're tiptoeing around all the people that love you, and when you are playing up, they know anyway.
Yeah,
but
My mum would know and ring me, and she would hear it in my voice. She'd sense it. My father was the same. My father used to be wake my mother up in the middle of the night and go, ring Adrian, something's wrong.
Wow.
It's an intuition that they have. And be like, no, I haven't used nothing. And it's you can't fool your parents.
It's the hour almost upon us. But but before we close, Australian Anti-Ice Campaign, our motto is NEO. It stands for Not Even Once. So if I'm going to give you some opportunity to tell our audience, those who are thinking about maybe trying to use this drug just once and to experiment, what is your advice?
Don't have that first one, because it will destroy you. It will take everything from you. And after it's taking everything from you, it'll leave you dead in the gutter.
Wow.
Don't take that first one.
it's really not worth it. I've had ice addiction, and for all the good times, it was not worth it, and I can't change the past, but all I can do is pass that message on to others, and in the hope that they listen, because I'm being genuine. It's not worth it. It's not worth the heartache and the trouble for yourself, for your loved ones. So that's what I've got to say about that.
And the next one is what message do you have for parents out there who are struggling, who are so frustrated that they have kids that is, heavily addicted to this drug, ice, and can't seem to shake it, right? And you said you've been you were in active addiction for a number of years, and your parents have helped you through different rehabs, and seemingly none of them work. But you are living proof that there is hope out there. So what would you?
The advice I'd give to the parents and the families: never to give up, never to lose faith.
Yes.
Or like that we do recover. Recovery is a journey, and to possibly even reach out to other addict parents of addict children. I'm pretty sure there's some support out there.
Yep.
And talk with other parents.
Yes.
But yeah, just never lose faith and hope, and and having that faith that that they will get help. These days, as time goes on, there's more and more awareness about it, which is what we want to get out there, is the awareness about it. So, to talk about it, and to connect with other parents that are going through, what they're going through.
Yeah. So in saying that, I guess, contact the numbers that we've put up on screen and look at the websites, look at the help that's available, and seek it out. And if it's going to help your loved one to get off ice, then it's worth to look at.
Yeah, good man.
Thank you very much for being our guest this evening.
Yeah. Thank you.
You've done quite
Yeah,
well.
thanks for having me
How-
here
how did
tonight.
that-
It's been great. I've loved it. Yeah.
We would be looking at getting you on as a interviewer.
Yeah.
You can do it with me, and we'll start branching out up
For
the,
sure, yeah.
the Clarence
Absolutely.
Valley, I guess you call it.
Yeah.
But how did you find it? It was good to share your story.
Yeah, it's good. Look, it's a real internal feeling of relief and to help. To hoping that just if one person just gets that message, you know
Exactly.
what I mean? And because that's how we heal from this.
And if you're watching from home tonight, thank you very much for joining us. Please don't forget our helpline, so 1-800 No to Ice, the family support line that we had on the screen earlier on. And please send us a message through Facebook and Messenger. And we do have a counsellor there on staff. Her name is Liz, and she will be fielding some of your messages. So thank you very much for joining us. And I look forward on the 24th of June. The next show will be up at Clarence Valley Way.
Okay.
So we're hoping we can do that. And Adrian and Ben
Yeah.
will be joining us.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks
Thanks,
very much,
thanks,
mate.
mate.
See you later,
Thanks,
guys.
Jose.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank
see
you.
later,
Good night.
Don.